Yo, 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 ladies and gentlemen. Where is the camera? That. What just happened? The light went everywhere. Did you do something? This is so weird. This is so weird. I'm gonna do this review anyway, right? A friend of mine, I swear to God, hand on heart, this is so weird. This is so weird. I just went to see The Exorcist, the new one, at the cinema, and I thought I've got to do this review. But what happened is, this is so weird. Jesus Christ. What happened is, and it's Friday the 13th as well, and I thought, I wasn't even going to go out, but I thought, whatever, I'll go to the cinema. Exorcist is on, blah, blah, blah. Might as well see it, right? And the film was like, okay, and as it was unfolding, I was thinking, I'll get to, that's not a review, but I was thinking about the power of the original Exorcist, and the predominant thing about the original Exorcist is that it is ultimately a Christian story, and Christianity and Jesus and God and God's angels and the forces for good are a predominant factor in that film. I mean, it's called The Exorcist, and the Exorcist is the priest, right? It's the good guy, and it sent millions of people to church to convert, or at least hundreds of thousands of them to become Christian, and because it showed them something so terrifying. And I guess a lot of people know that, but I was thinking that I hope that's in this film. I hope it doesn't just become a silly horror film, because it's important to point to God and say, you know, there's maybe something bigger at play here. And the strange thing is that in the film, just as it was getting particularly interesting, there's a scene where this character is a father of his daughter, where we think, oh my God, she's possessed, you know. He starts flicking the light on and off. Sorry, she starts flicking the light on and off. And then he leaves the bathroom where she was doing it, and the light actually starts flicking on and off by itself. And then in that moment, the lights in the cinema went off. But the sound, actually, the sound cut off as well. But the weird thing is it's not all the lights in the cinema. It's not like this. This just, everything went off. I've got a little light on here, which is LED, and it's battery. That's why it's still on. But in this scene, the ceiling lights and emergency lights are on, so there's no blackout. But the projector light went off. And everybody thought it was part of the movie. But I was thinking, this can't be part of the movie, because I know that the black on a screen is never really black. There's like slightly grey edges where the bulb is hitting the screen. And people started to realize after about a minute, wait, this isn't the movie. We can still hear it. I actually recorded some of it, so I can put that in. I'll upload it separately. But basically, during this scene where this character is like the very first time something significant is happening, and the lights are going on and off because of something otherworldly, the projector went off. And the sound carried on. And then the sound cut off as well, which was strange. And then the sound came back, but the picture didn't. And it was so weird. People started getting up and leaving because they were scared. They were like, forget it. There were people behind me, a row of really confident guys, and one was like, bruv, no, bruv, I can't take it, bruv, I can't, it's too scary. And one of them said, he's like, bruv, did you come here, are you watching this alone? Because I'm happy to watch movies, either with people or alone. You're never really alone in the cinema anyway. But he was like, no, he's like, respect, bruv, it's too scary for me, bruv, no. And people were leaving, like they were just like, it's too scary, it's so strange that happened at that moment. And a lot of people said the same thing I said, which I've never experienced that in my whole life. Never has the bulb of the film cut off. I've seen back in the days of film film projectors, it was common that sometimes and then there was light. That is so weird. But anyway, it was common that sometimes the film negative would burn, and that would stop you watching a movie in the cinema. Now, I've seen that. I actually saw a Die Hard, the first one, on film, and that froze. The film got stuck and it burned. But I've never in all my life seen the light go off whilst watching a movie in the cinema. And for it to happen at that exact moment in this exact film is so weird. Like, I can't even quantify the percentage of likelihood of that happening. That's so surreal. It made sense that I was considering, I was like, should I leave? Is this like, and in the end I had to leave. Everyone had to leave. They were like, we'll sort it out. And then they were like, we're so sorry, we can't sort it out. You just have to leave. And everything was dark. Like, nothing came, like I said, little emergency lights, not emergency, but automatic, like, you know, in cinemas nowadays, it can't be 100% darkness. But it was like, really like darker than usual. And for it to be that film on Friday the 13th, and I'm not making any of it up. I've got the footage. I recorded it. Weirdly, I was watching it back, and I was like, there were conversations happening in the audience that aren't appearing on the video that I filmed. It's really strange because it's only obviously like you can see emergency lights, but you can't see it much light. But you can hear the film, and it's such a surreal experience. So I can't really give you a film review fully, other than I was thinking, I hope this isn't just a silly horror film, and I hope it opens my mind to the possibility of something much bigger, and you know, the big question of what we are, and is there God, and if so, you know, what is the battle taking place between kind of heaven and earth, and I would hope the film shines a light on light itself and says, you know, there's a way out of darkness. But the whole possession thing can obviously be done in a silly popcorn movie way, and obviously The Exorcist is got more depth than that. I could talk a lot about that movie, but this is more just, I got what I was hoping for, put it that way, in the most tremendous and bizarre way. But I did think there were some guys in the queue because they were getting their money back, right? And some of them were like, I just want to leave. I want to leave, bruv. No. Like, I can't take it. I want to go, bruv. And they were like, no. You know, I know it's weird, but like, whatever. But one of them was like, no, I can't take it because like possession and demon stuff. Like, can't do it. It's. And I was thinking, like, it is scary when you're in that position and you're in, especially the way the cinema heightens things. But I thought to myself, well, let's say this was a possessed film or experience or whatever. Surely the devil, right, would want people to watch that film. Surely the devil would be like, if it's got that kind of negativity and whatever, the devil would want you to see it. If it's bad. In which case, it cutting off would be a good thing, because it would mean that God intervened and was like, no. Don't want you seeing this. This is about to get too serious, too dark, something's going to take over you, right? You're going to end up waking up and throwing up on yourself and being stranded in your bed as something takes over your consciousness. So, no, we don't want that happening to the audience. So God's the one who's like, cut off. No, right? Speaking in terms of the feeling some of the audience had walking out. And I suppose you could look at it the other way and say, like, some dark force came along and made everything cut off. I choose, I suppose, to see it in the positive, And I always say, I mean, this is an interesting thing because there's the famous conversation between Stanley Kubrick and Stephen King in regards to Stephen King's book The Shining, but because Kubrick made the film, but Kubrick said to Stephen King that he thinks anything that alludes to something bigger than us, something spiritual, metaphysical, something that acknowledges the afterlife or the potential of afterlife is good. He was like, the idea of ghosts and ghost stories, he's like, any evidence of that is surely a good thing rather than a scary thing, because it implies that there's so much more to life than we necessarily can fathom. Obviously, you could dedicate your life looking into it, but either way, he was saying it's not necessarily scary. It's like, well, if there's God, that's great, isn't it? And that's the way I choose to see this. But honestly, just think about it for a second. If I see thousands of movies in my entire life and it never happens ever, then what are the chances? It's like 1 in thousands that it's going to happen in a movie anyway. So for it to then happen in this movie, I mean, what are the statistics? 1 in a million, 1 in 10 million, and then for it to happen exactly in that scene, at that moment, that the projector light cuts off to the point where the audience all think it's part of the film because the entity in the movie is switching the lights on and off. And that's what happens in real life. And then, and I'm not making this up, I put this video on to record this review and the lights went off. Thankfully, they came back on. We're leaning towards the side of light. It's so surreal. It's so surreal. I mean, I wasn't thinking I wanted that when I went to the cinema, but when I was sitting in the cinema and the film began, I thought, I hope it opens this kind of positive, which makes you think about heaven and all that stuff. And I mean, The Exorcist is a phenomenally powerful film. I read the book as well, twice actually. I think I was trying to get some. I was a young teenager and I was trying to find the truth in it and what's real and what's not. And I like the kind of two halves of. It's not a great book, but I like the two halves of the idea that there is a believer and a skeptic, sort of like the X-Files. But I'll tell you a very interesting story about the book, which for some reason I had 2 versions and I've never been able to find it since, because I'd love to just read it as is, because there's an introduction by the writer William Peter Blatty about the writing of that book and how surreal it is. And it's unbelievable. It's very similar in a bigger way to what even happened today. But he said writing it, he wasn't 100% sure what he believed. He just knew there's room to question and you know, believe without necessarily all evidence. But when he wrote the book, it got published and nobody read it. Okay, the Exorcist book sat on the shelf, no one read it. And even though he'd worked tremendously hard on it, I think he spent a year or more writing it, maybe even more. It was like a dud. Okay, like nothing to do with its quality, just that happens in the writing world, you know. And it's very rare, like certainly then, from what I've been told or what I've read, that a book would make it to a second print. You hear often about first edition books, but the reality is many books never make it to a second run because the first run just didn't sell enough. So what happened was, a year later, after it's been published, its author, William Peter Blatty, gets a call from the publisher, and they say, "We're really sorry about this, but your book's going out of print. Right? It's not making us any money. It's taking up shelf space. It's a loss on our part. So that's it. I'm afraid your book is gone. It's going to be one of those end up in a dustbin. No one's going to remember it. And he's like, oh, what a shame, right? And obviously he's thinking, that's terrible for me. Am I a failure? And blah, blah, blah. I think it's good, but I guess it's just a nothing book. It's never going to be a success. And then it was about 2 days before the book was officially getting pulled. Maybe even 1, okay? That an American talk show, I don't know which one, but it was like David Letterman level, right? Or in the UK, like Graham Norton, like the massive American talk show of the time, had like 2 celebrities who were set to speak that night, okay? And these are live shows. And maybe they recorded 10, 15 minutes ahead of time, but they're live. They're like, we shoot it tonight, it goes on TV tonight. And what happened is, by some weird anomaly, both celebrities cancelled. I've got a vague memory that it's actually 3 celebrities, and if so, all 3 of them cancelled. And it's like super rare that any celebrity would cancel something like that. They're known to sometimes walk off, like they get into an argument and they might leave the show, but to not turn up at all is like super rare. That's a kind of 1 in 10,000 occurrence. And then for all the celebrities booked to cancel for whatever reason is just unbelievably like unlikely. And then because they all cancel, the channel, the TV show starts calling around to their, like, you know, they call like agents and stuff to say, hey, have you got anyone you can use to fill our slot? Every single agent that the TV show calls, the talk show calls, is like, we haven't got anyone. Our guy's booked. Our music artist is playing live tonight. We can't get them from Chicago to New York, all that sort of stuff. And they went through such a massive list that they literally got to the book publishers and said, we need somebody to be interviewed tonight. Do you have anybody? And guess who gets a phone call? William Peter Blatty, right? Or Bleaty. I think it's Blatty. So he gets a phone call and his publisher says, hey, the biggest talk show in the country needs its slot filled. Can you be there in like 2 hours or less to be interviewed and talk about your book? And he's like, yeah, which is in itself is like, what are the chances? Guy could have been anywhere. And he's like, yeah, I can do that. So he goes on the talk show. And not only does he get a slot, he gets every slot because every single celebrity cancelled. So he's this guy in the audience is like, who's this guy? An author, right? Who cares about, who cares? Like, granted, more people read back then than now, but it was still like not the kind of thing you get, like an unknown author who's, you know, not really a celebrity author. And he got every slot. He got the slot of every single person who cancelled. So they just gave him the whole show to talk about his book. So this book that's about to go out of print like in a day and be gone through the annals of time, just nothing, right? Just as stand out as some kids like English assignment in a secondary school or a high school that's just like whatever, right? No one ever remembers it. Is now on the most watched talk show in the States. And he got the slot. And by the next day, The Exorcist is the bestseller. And I think it was only 24 hours later that the film rights got sold. And a film got made that sent more people to church to become Christian and believe in God and Jesus than any other book in history except the Bible. And the author said, for all the questions he had writing the book, is it real? Is God and the devil real? He was like, well, I may have just got my answer. Because he's like, it's as if God was like, I want this book to be read. And he wanted that film to be made. Because it was this close to being gone forever. And that is an unbelievable story. And those are the kinds of strange strange things that seem to surround this story. So, as for the new film, well, I haven't seen all of it, but it was ever so surreal to have the lights cut when they cut, and I think, true story, I've never made a video and had the lights cut on me during a video either. And it just happened. It's so weird. It's so weird. And it wasn't a power cut in the cinema. It's not like, oh, there's just a power cut. Yeah, there's blackouts happening. That wasn't what it was. Sound was still on, lights were still on, security lights. So right now, I don't even know what just happened. Like my friend said, the light went in his room, but he didn't realize it went everywhere. That is so weird. That is so weird. So look, I haven't seen the movie. To be perfectly honest, I don't even know if I want to see the rest of it. I don't know. There was other stuff I wanted to talk to you guys about in regards to I wanted to show you some stuff in regards to the original, but that is, I guess that's enough. So look, take care everyone, right? Say your prayers. May you all be blessed and watched over. God bless us, everyone. Take care of yourselves. What do you guys think about all this? What do you think? This is 100% true. 100% true. I've got the footage. Man, it's super weird. Alright guys, take care. See ya. Bye-bye.